All right, I'm going to try to tell this story that I like to call, well, the earache, I guess, right? So, I know my buddy James Kane, he'll like this one. So, I don't know, it must have been I think like 1979, maybe. Yeah, I think it was, yeah, it was, no, it's 78, 70, 77, 78, right? I think I was about 8 years old, right? So, oh, yeah, I didn't show you the shirt this morning, today, I mean, whenever you're watching this. It's afternoon anyway. Freaking Prior, love it. But, so yeah, I was probably about 8 years old. Um, I wasn't in school because it was like summertime. I remember it was really nice out, it was warm. I got, stop with the I got up in the morning. Nothing was strange, nothing was different. I woke up and it was like, okay, I had some breakfast, probably raisin bran, because that's what I had almost every, morning in the summer and, on the weekends and stuff like that. So I probably had some raisin bran, and then I went out to play with friends, and as the day's going on, I start, there's like, it's like this noise, in my left ear. It's like really sore, and it's like this throbbing, like, and then all of a sudden, it just starts, it sounds like, it's like it sounds like the craziest windstorm you ever heard, but only in one ear, and the loudest noise that I've ever heard in my life, but no one else could hear it. I'm like, you don't hear that? You don't hear that? No one else could hear it. And then it would be like extreme pain, and I'm like, and I'm holding on to it, and then it would stop. And then it seemed like it was fine for like, a couple hours or whatever, and so everything would be okay, and I'd be doing something, and all of a sudden, it was like this loud, this scraping, like this it was like it was like a freight train, tornado, like the craziest fucking sound, all in my left ear, and I'm like, what the hell? And then, it did this all day. I went home, I complained about my ear. But no one could see anything, no one could hear anything, and I'm like, well, there's this loud noise, and it's really, really loud. And they're like, when? My mother's like, when? And Tony's like, when? I don't hear anything. And I'm like, well, it's there, and then so the next day, I finally fall asleep, wake up a couple times, it's hurting, and then the next day, same thing, like this crazy, just, a lot more though. It was like a lot, like, it was all. Maybe I had like 10 minutes that it wouldn't be doing it. And I'm like, And like, so my mother's like, what the hell? It's really, I could tell that something's really going on with this ear, So I grew up in Cambridge in Central Square. I grew up down the end of Harvard Street. But across the river, on Broadway, right? I believe it, yeah, Broadway, over the, what they call the Salt and Pepper Bridge, right? Longfellow, is it Long? No, Longfellow is the other one. Is it the Longfellow Bridge? Maybe it is. I think it is the Longfellow Bridge, right? Is it? Yeah, I think it's the Longfellow Bridge. Anyway, Salt and Pepper. Everybody knows the Salt and Pepper's got the towers on it. The train goes over. Anyhow, Mass Eye and Ear, one of the best ear, nose, ear and eye hospitals or medical centers in the whole world, is right across the river. So my mother brought me there, and we're waiting, and they get us in pretty quickly, and the doctor's very nice, and he looks in my ear, and he's like, oh, I don't know, what the heck is that? And my mother's like, what do you mean, what's that? He's like, well, there's something in there. She's like, what do you mean there's something in there? And I'm like, it's hurting again, and so he's like, oh, I think there's a bug in there, So, long story short, I mean, this was the third morning. I didn't say it, but this was the third day, the third morning, right? And And so, because no one could hear it, no one could, you couldn't, nothing looked like anything was wrong with me. I looked fine, everybody probably thought I was insane. But so he's like, and he's trying to get it with something, and he can't get it, it's moving around, and it's like, it's loud, it hurts. And so he gets this suction thing, and he puts it in there, and it's sucking air because everything's connected, So it's like sucking my eyeballs back. The ears, everything I'm trying to breathe in is going out my ear. It's being pulled out my ear, like, and he's moving around. He's trying to catch this fucking thing, and fucking pops it out, and I'm like, oh, and like now I can breathe. I'm like, and he freaking drops down on some plate and covers it up, and he's got this glass thing, and he's like, oh, look at that, looks like it's a bee or a yellow jacket. And I look over at it, and I'm like, let me see. And he shows it to me. My mother's looking at it like, And then I look at it, I go, that's not a bee or a yellow jacket, that's a freaking cockroach. Yo, so gross, right? And my mother's like, oh, I think he was trying to be nice. I'm like, oh man, don't be nice, it was a cockroach, you know what I mean? And so that thing was in my ear. And so what that makes me think, so after that, my mother made me sleep with cotton balls in my ear for years, you know, and like they make that weird cottony noise. I can't stand that shit even to this day. It drives me crazy. Cotton balls, if I touch them and they make that little grindy, Anyway, so, but so fair to say, I mean, in the projects that we lived in, they had a lot of roaches, right? And fair to say that when you were sleeping, every day while you were sleeping, or every night while you were sleeping, you probably had dozens, if not more, roaches crawling around you at all times, right? Overnight, different ones. You know, fucking. And yeah, so that's my earache story. That's my my roach, my ear roach, roach in the ear story. You know what's funny, right? Is they have that. Remember that show? What the fuck was it? It wasn't Urban Legends, but whatever. When they would they'd hear about something like is driving faster. What the fuck was it called? Anyway, they said that it was a myth that no one's ever had a roach crawl in their ear, and I can fucking attest to you, and so can Mass Eye and Air, because they have the records that I had a cockroach sucked out of my ear in probably 1978, summer of '78. I have other roach stories too. There's a lot of roach stories. There's a reason why I have like roaches to me is like, it's like kryptonite. But you know, after you've had so many dealings with them like I did, it's pretty freaking nasty. But yeah, so that's the roach story. Check your ears, people. Check your ears. Holy fuck! It was the most painful thing. And the loudest and most painful thing you could imagine in your ear. You ever get like one of those toothaches that just hurts? It's so bad. It was like that in your ear. Like this whole side of your head was just jacked. Peace. Have a good day. I hope y'all don't live with any roaches, man. If you do, put something in your ears.